32 years after Return of the Jedi, we have Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
See what you got.
After the incidents in Return, the last Jedi in the galaxy, Luke Skywalker, has vanished because Disney doesn't know how to write characters. Anymore, okay? Anymore. But we'll get to that.
Oh, great.
The Galactic Empire are no more since the death of the Emperor and Darth Vader, but now we have to deal with the First Order, which is basically the Galactic Empire in the original. An old guy who is literally never mentioned, seen, or even acknowledged ever again meets with a dude called Poe, which just reminds me of Legend of Zelda, and he hides vital information in a droid, like in the original. The info reveals Luke's whereabouts, but Poe is soon kidnapped and our hero is captured by a dark and mysterious masked villain with an evil booming voice like in the original. A stormtrooper decides killing isn't for him and turns good, rescues Poe, and they escape before crashing on a planet for a young future Jedi to discover said droid like in the original. She and Finn board the original ship before Han Solo and Chewbacca return for him to become their elderly mentor like in the original. We get a completely pointless scene with Han owing money and we have a fight sequence. Seriously, it's entirely pointless.
Stop it!
Carrie Fisher shows up, big fight, the masked guy is controlled by a dark ominous looking fucker like in the original, the mentor dies like in the original. Shocker. Han's son loses but survives. Who cares?
You got a lot to learn.
They save the world against a giant round Death Star weapon like in the original. They even acknowledge it!
It's another Death Star.
Luke gets his lightsaber returned and the Jedi is left superior at the end. Like in the original.
This is very complicated.
The idea for a sequel trilogy had actually been lingering for a while, but George Lucas always denied intentions to actually produce it. In October 2012 though, he sold his company along with the rights to the series to Walt Disney. I swear to God, if the villain starts to sing Hannah Montana,
I'm never going back.
Kathleen Kennedy was the new president of Lucasfilms, and George even went on record by saying, I always said I wasn't going to do any more, and that's true because I'm not going to do any more. But that doesn't mean I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do more. George did stay in touch during the production of the picture, acting as creative consultant. He attended story meetings and gave advice on the details of the whole Star Wars universe. He even provided rough story treatments he had for episodes 7, 8, and 9. However, Disney completely discarded all of his story ideas and he no longer had anything to do with the movie or any of the sequels to follow. According to his son, George Lucas was very torn about having sold the rights to the franchise, but he did handpick J.J. Abrams to direct. He said George was there to guide them and he wants to let it go and become its new generation. Other directors were considered, including, interestingly, David Fincher, Brad Bird, Ben Affleck, and Guillermo del Toro, before Abrams was confirmed in January of 2013. Michael Arndt was originally working on the screenplay and did so for 8 months before requesting an extraordinary 18 further, which the studio rightfully refused and allowed Abrams himself and original screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan to return to scripting duties.
You are right back in the mess.
J.J. Abrams stated, the key for the film was to return to the roots of the first Star Wars film, but be based more on emotion than explanation. Like in the original.
You were so right.
The script was finished by January 2014, but they confessed that they left out certain plot elements because they had yet to prepare everything for the entire trilogy quite yet. In November 2015, George Lucas opened up and was brutally honest, admitting Disney did not want him involved. If I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble because they're not going to do what I want them to do and I don't have the control to do that anymore, and all it would do is just muck everything up. They want to do a retro movie and I don't like that. Every movie I worked very hard to make them different. I made them completely different planets, different spaceships to make it new. Abrams did however confess that since it's the first of a new trilogy, the film needed to take a couple of steps backwards in a very familiar terrain and use plot elements from previous Star Wars films. You think?
You know it's true.
Simon Jurek, who was one of the artists working on the storyboard, said, the security on the film was a challenge. The script was locked in a safe. Most of the time on a film, you could sit at your desk with a copy of the script next to you. On this, you couldn't. That's fine, but it was tricky in places. We had people flying drones over Pinewood Studios trying to take photographs. It was nuts. If a prop was moved, we had to have them covered in a big black sheet. Unlike the prequels previously, this one was highly praised. The Associated Press admitted, it's basically the same as the original, but isn't that what we all wanted anyway? No. It is a complete rehash of the original trilogy, mainly A New Hope. Is that the main problem I have with it? No, I have a lot of other issues as well, but why promote this as being a fresh new look and something different when it's not? How even George Lucas, who said he wanted to make each film different, came out and said he likes this one? How? Well, of course he liked it. It was a complete reenactment, scene by scene, of his movie. And no one sucks George Lucas's dick more than George Lucas.
Who is the greatest director who's ever lived in the history of the galaxy? You are George Lucas, you are!
What was that?
I've also heard it's a clever homage, but there's a vast difference between homage and a rip-off. Lost Boys The Thirst came out 23 years after the original, had an entirely different plot, but also paid great tributes to the previous film. Halloween H2O, 20 years later, came out 20 years after the original, similar plot, but made it its own, whilst adding in subtle homages. This just reenacts almost every single scene and plot point from the original without adding anything new except better effects. This is the Home Alone 2 of the Star Wars franchise. guys.
I can fix this!
Okay, the story of a stormtrooper who turns good is new and creative, and I really dig that. It's a great concept, but if you take that part out, this film literally adds nothing to the Star Wars story whatsoever. It establishes nothing new at all. BB-8? It's just R2-D2, but with a cuter design. It's like if R2-D2 had sex with Wally. He has great comedic moments and does fine as an R2-D2 replacement, so I'll give him that.
Actually, the droids are not for sale.
She refuses to sell a droid she's only just met. But at this point, she has no reason to believe anyone's after it, or it holds vital information. So this doesn't make any sense, especially for a character as a loner who gets rid of scrap.
Apparently he has a map that leads to Luke Skywalker, and everyone's after it.
Luke Skywalker.
Isn't he the one who fucks his sister?
I never asked that question until after I've done it.
The movie adds nothing new, but yes, the set, cinematography, and actors really help carry it. Despite its lack of originality, John Boyega as Finn steals the show, and it's actually a thrill to watch. His dramatic moments are delivered impeccably well. He's a genuinely likable character, which he always is, even when he's defending his block against aliens, and also he really hits hard on the comedy moments.
He almost killed me 6 times! Which is fine.
Daisy Ridley as Rey does a fine job, though Elizabeth Olsen, Jennifer Lawrence, and Shailene Woodley were all considered. Lawrence would have been better, just saying. But the character is just so boring. We could get behind Luke or Anakin because they had struggles behind them. In a weird comparison, Batman and Spider-Man are more interesting than Superman because he's a fucking god, whereas they have constant battles to maintain their identities or to defeat the bad guys. Superman is just unstoppable unless you dangle a rock in front of his face.
I leave that to you.
Rey is perfect at literally everything. She's the perfect pilot, she's perfect in hand-to-hand combat, she can speak any fucking language, she uses the Force instantly, and she even defeats the bad guy of the movie single-handedly with the Force with no prior training whatsoever without a single scratch on her. Now, I know Luke destroyed the Death Star his first try, but there was a huge battle beforehand, there was a struggle. Rey literally has a scene where she realizes she has the Force, and she's like, cool, I'll use it.
That's not how the Force works.
This character isn't interesting. How can we possibly rally behind her when she could defeat Darth Vader, Darth Maul, the Emperor, Count Dooku, Kylo Ren, a T-Rex, the Terminator, Freddy Krueger, Godzilla, the Cloverfield Monster, Jason Voorhees, Frankenstein, Super Mecha Death Christ, and Carrie White, whilst blindfolded with her arms tied behind her back as she balances on one leg in the air with no harness, surrounded by lava as sharks swim around her as zombies fire flaming arrows at her face. Now, remember how Harrison Ford clearly didn't give a shit in Return of the Jedi, wanted to die, in the movie and in real life, and then showed no effort throughout the entire film? Well, picture 32 years later, Harrison Ford is a lot richer, is paid $25 million, which is 5 times the amount the director was paid, and $24 million more than Carrie Fisher. $25 million is the amount of some films' budgets, and yes, he again gave no shits.
Nemo Outpost.
Jakku, the junkyard, people are counting on us. The galaxy is counting on us.
That's what Snoke wants you to believe.
$25 million, and you really think after years of being sick of this character that he tried? There is not one scene in this entire film where he shows any sign of even remotely any kind of attempt of an effort. Oh, except maybe here.
We won't leave here without her.
See that? Raise him a cheek. That means I'm showing effort. It's also quite depressing watching 1,284-year-old Harrison Ford trying to recreate his Indiana Jones days. And it's not just his performance that blows. I'm thinking Disney clearly missed the last 2 films.
Are you offering me a job?
Wouldn't be nice to you.
He's a prick again. You know Disney? Han Solo was a prick in episode 4. Right? And then through this magical creation called character development, in episodes 5 and 6, he learned to allow himself to have friends. He was a loner and he had to trust people and love them. And he accomplished that. So throughout those 3 movies, he became a completely different person. So by episode 6, he was a caring person. So what the fuck did you just do?
A good question for another time.
He's a complete douche to her for most of the movie, and his character has literally reverted back to his dickhead ways in A New Hope, making the last 2 films completely pointless. Oh, and why the fuck did he and Leia split up? There is no reason. How most people's favourite thing about the original trilogy was Han and Leia. No one saw Return of the Jedi wanting them to split up. There is legitimately no reason, because when their son turns evil, wouldn't it have been far more emotional for them as a couple still to go through this pain together? It makes no sense.
The droid we seek is aboard the Millennium Falcon, in the hands of your father, Han Solo.
No, that's not new. That's plagiarism! Despite previously eating the crew members instantly, this monster decides to attack Finn and just drag him around for a bit instead. Do you know what else makes no sense? Luke abandoning everyone? Apparently it was because his nephew turned to the dark side. First of all, what the fuck's it got to do with you? Sure, it's your nephew, but you didn't go running to the other side of the galaxy when it was your dad!
Something far worse has happened to you.
Second, why would he run away? This goes completely against his entire character. Oh, I'm the last Jedi alive. What's that? A badass evil guy has turned? Oh well, I can't handle this. I'm gonna leave all of my friends, family, and the entire galaxy in complete danger while I go on vacation in Cuba. What the hell is wrong with you?
If I told you, you wouldn't like it.
As for Kylo Ren, I actually loved him at first. The costume is incredible and the voice is even more badass than Darth Vader's. Yeah, I said it.
The girl knows her stuff.
He tortures this dude and it's so dark and his presence is awesome. Honestly, he has such an eerie image and I really love it, but then whenever he doesn't get his way, he literally throws a temper tantrum like a fucking 6-year-old boy. This is the guy we're supposed to believe could destroy the whole galaxy? Are you shitting me? When we see his face, he looks like a pretty boy vampire from Twilight. He doesn't look scary, he looks about 12. He's still got the awesome voice, so my question is, why couldn't you have got an actor to be in the suit and dub his voice like you did with David Prowse in the original? You steal everything else from that movie. And the scene with Han Solo at the end, the emotional conflict is non-existent. The fact he looks so young and non-threatening could have actually worked. It could have. We hear this threatening voice booming over and we're genuinely afraid of him until we see that he's just a scared and insecure kid. The problem? He showed his face earlier! Like, good God, why did he unmask so early and for no reason? It ruined the whole climax, and look, even when Harrison Ford gets stabbed, he's emotionless. Oh well, better go get my paycheck.
Do it.
It looks like Han Solo took away his favorite Xbox game and he turned to the dark side to spite him in protest.
Your son, he's gone. He was weak and foolish like his father. So I destroyed him.
That's the villain. So I destroyed him. We went shopping, went bowling, so I destroyed him. He said it so casually.
You're afraid that you will never be as strong as Darth Vader.
Oh shit, man! Oh fuck! Wait, she thinks Luke Skywalker's just a myth.
Luke Skywalker? I thought he was a myth.
But yet she knows who Darth Vader is. His father who fought him to the death. The saber fight between Kylo and Rey, I just can't get invested in because it doesn't have the emotion behind it like an Empire, Jedi, or Sith.
You're a monster.
Okay. Who the hell says that in a serious way? You are reciting comedic lines from a scene in Shrek, which was making fun of cliches in 2001! And this is 2015! Luke appearing right at the end, I'm on the fence about. Mark Hamill himself was unsure about it, but apparently changed his mind after the film came out. I felt like it would have been a much better idea if Rey started struggling against Kylo Ren and then Luke surprisingly showed up to make the save.
You're right. That's a better idea.
Apparently they wanted Skywalker to only turn up at the end so he wouldn't steal the spotlight from the new stars. That's understandable, but the problem is, that's what mentors do. Those rookies are supposed to be weak. They're supposed to be saved by the older veterans. It would have made perfect sense and made it a much more impactful moment in my mind. Owen Poe, his character, yeah, entirely pointless. Escapes with Finn, crashes, can't see his body. Apparently he was sent flying away from the wreck, but look, there's nowhere he could have been. And then later on turns up again like, hey, yeah, I survived. Don't be surprised it was actually in the trailer, but yeah, I'm here. He had no purpose except Luke's whereabouts in BB-8, but Finn and Rey could have discovered that easily anyway. He's entirely pointless.
That's the only name they ever gave me.
The movie's effects, character of Finn, the musical score, BB-8, action scenes, and yes, nostalgia all make up for it. There's great ideas in here, but they obviously played it safe and just hid behind the past storylines, which is a weak move, and the script truly suffers from it. It's not bad by any means, it just could have been a lot better. But no matter what you think of these films, you can't deny the success of the franchise or the impact that they've made. There's so much passion behind these films, which is a great thing, but far too often I see negativity about people's opinions. People who love the originals hate the prequels, and people who love the prequels hate the originals. The series continues to grow more and more, and instead of throwing hate about the films, why can't we all just enjoy them and spread the love?